dice falls out of the center.
I'm sure the one where Alyssa's sticking a wrench through Malkesh might be.
That's a pretty good one.
No, it's a gigantic wrench just sticking through Malkesh's chest on both ends. Lissy's just looking at it like, I don't know how this happened.
Have you not seen the art that I...
All right. Back to where we were. How much... Okay. Amboise spoke and said, there is one part I am conflicted about recovering. And Florentine said it's correct. It's not just help me with my memory. It would be my memory.
It's kind of to the associated group there, because Malkesh wandered over to Hunhao, and so I'm assuming Amboise wandered over to Malkesh.
And Lissy is hanging upside down.
Because Malkesh had basically said, hey, yes, the machine itself is detestable, but the individual components could be useful. The machine is not evil by its own self, it's evil by how it's used.
Ours is the best kind of evil. Easy for you to say, demon boy.
All right. Malkesh gets between the shorter Lissy and the much taller Hunhao. All right. Well, we'll worry about this later. We got a place to blow up. Lissy, go with Amboise and see if you can't save whatever that is, and I'll start getting the rituals ready for incinerating this place to Kingdom Come.
Yeah, okay.
Hunhao, how do you feel about accelerant? Cool, follow me.
It's always a good time to learn about accelerant.
All right. Amboise and Lissy approach the more jagged crystal. Alyssa, if we do this, I might be able to remember everything. But that might include any terrible thing I've done. This could change me.
Well, did you want to remember? Is this a thing you want to do?
It could help us.
Well,
it would answer a lot of questions.
How does changing you and you being not so sure about that help anybody?
It doesn't. I worry if this changes me for the worst, Alyssa, you need to make sure our boss takes care of it.
Well, that doesn't sound particularly great. What would you consider the worst?
I made this, and it's terrible.
Well, even Florentine said that it wasn't being used towards its purpose.
But I made something that could be used in such a terrible way. I'm in some way complicit in all this. You can't let me walk down this path again.
You do realize who you're talking to, right? I'm an Ockbee. Most of the things that I invent have been used for, at best, ridiculous purposes, at worst, purposes that I don't really want to think about.
You're right. Let's recover this and...
Look, you don't have to do it straight away.
No,
either.
We need to get everything out of this facility we can. If we do it, we need to do it right now.
Okay. Alright. Okay.
What about the other memory?
Well, we might as well keep hold of it. I'm not entirely sure just fire can destroy them.
No, it's... In fact, you remember in Rixus's voice clearly stating to the party that memory cannot be destroyed.
Oh.
Hence him having to hide away Arlanda's memories rather than just destroying them.
I can keep hold of it.
I think it's better we hold on to it than let it fall back into any bad hands.
Fair enough. Now, how are these things anchored in? Are they...
They're almost attached and kind of... You see that they've got kind of a setting base and that there's little leads into them and they go into the wires that lead into the headpiece.
Can I detach them?
Do you want to give me a roll?
Yeah.
You can do it. You can do an intelligence one for this.
An intelligence one. Not that great.
It's going to take you some time. So Amboise looks at you and says, "No, just go for the other one. I'll do this directly in the machine."
Okay. All right.
And as you do it, Amboise kind of touches it, focuses, and you see necromantic runes kind of appear around him, and his eyes change from that sickly green glow briefly into a brilliant silver light, and then he kind of flies across the room and impacts against the back wall just as you get the other crystal loose.
Ah, shit.
Hearing the thud,
Kill the cat.
Malkesh walks in with two, I don't know if you want to say containers of either some form of long chain hydrocarbon. Whatever they can synthesize in the lab. And basically sees Amboise impact against the wall. What the hell's going on in here?
And Amboise would look up and he would look at you with silver eyes and go, "There's one more place we need to go before this explodes."
Okay.
I think he may have his memories back.
And he would take off running. Just
Oh, sugar.
gather up who we can.
All of them? Malkesh kind of asked, chasing behind.
No, leave Fierce to distract Florentine.
Got it. Malkesh kind of takes a right corner, swings out, does a loop around Gunhild's legs twice, then climbs up on her shoulder. That way.
What are you doing?
Just go.
What was that noise?
I don't know, but I bet it's cool. Come on.
And Amboise would leave these people up a path through the woods. And when he looped around, you would see not a facility, but a pleasant garden, a cabin, a place not entirely unlike home. And it's well hidden, but he leads you there. This is my retreat. This isn't just my laboratory. This is where I set up to do most of my work. Florentine wasn't wrong about that machine. And she knew so much because it was the machine that made her.
What do you mean it made her?
Well, I mean, the grafting, the memories, don't you?
No, it's not grafting. It's early on in that process. The infant with the latent ape-changing abilities, if exposed to elder dragon essence over a prolonged period of time, they would essentially, for lack of a better word, graft naturally, form dragonic characteristics.
Wait, are you saying she became draconic?
Yes. I changed her. And then in this cabin, I raised her.
How could she not? Oh, right. She wouldn't recognize you.
Come in.
I think we have a lot to talk about.
No, and there's...
Still doesn't explain why she's such a pain in the butt.
It changes the... Maybe it changes the person, not the personality.
No, it's... As said, it's... As she said, it doesn't wholesale replace the personality. It may have given her the aspect of incorruptibility. It may even have given her the same drive that drove Alexander. They need to save the world at no matter the cost, but... No, I'll explain more. Come inside. And when you enter the cabin, you see a room, and the room is just... Every wall is covered with paintings. Of different people, different places. You see a messy desk with... with notes. And you see an easel with some unfinished paintings. This is how I passed my time. These are all my friends. And he looks and motions to one painting, and you see a painting of a glorious golden dragon. And it's Gustav. We are all the people that we helped save the world the first time.
the first time?
Against the Oracle. I was there. I was a part of it. It's a wait. We stopped the destruction, but we didn't cut away the rot. We all tried to devise different ways we'd overcome the threat for good. But there was a lot of disagreement. Most importantly, the man that kept us together had been killed. And I helped put his memory in a crystal. Because I thought in some way it helped save the world.
Can't believe I'm saying this, but I, in a strange way, understand that need to want to save the world and maybe not realizing you're not quite cut out for it. Or doing the wrong thing because of it.
He looks to. I needed to see this place one more time. I have a very good memory. At least I do now. I could recall these images and I tried to capture them. There we are after, well, one of our first major victories when we'd become a group capable of these things. And you see, at least some of you, well, actually at Gunhill, you recognize Arthur Dullahan, the hero that you met in the past, that after you went to his tomb.
That was a while ago. Out of character. But she will point out Dullahan.
And then you notice a few other figures as well. You see Ilya Harmanthazael, also from the past, who helped devise that spell that brought you there, at least in vision. And then a man you expected to be, that you've only ever seen so dour, and he's laughing and holding hands with Arthur. And it's clearly Andreas Zexel. But then it gets even stranger. Hunhao, you see an elven woman. And you don't recognize her in this young form. But you see, going down her face, across her collarbone and down her arm, is one of the most vicious scars you'd ever assumed a demon had ever given an elf, and that they had survived. And it's this scar you recognize. Because this elven woman, who you had never met before, a rarity amongst your people, was present the day you met with your elders. And it was decided that you were to venture out into the world. She was significantly older, but that scar is distinct. you see figures that you don't recognize. You see probably the most massive half-orc woman you've ever seen, with a giant axe and a crossbow, advanced for that age. You see a man head to toe in grim black armor. And then the strangest thing, Gunhild. You see a woman who's clearly your mother.
Pauses. She kind of looks from the, kind of like Hunhow, just kind of takes a few steps more towards the painting. Kind of fights off the need to reach out towards it like Hunhow did, but and already kind of knowing the answer, she's gonna look at I'm forgetting like every name all of a sudden, towards Amboise and just say, "Who is she?"
She's... How do I pronounce it?
I have to look up the name. Sorry, it's been a while.
Sashalia?
Yeah, let's go with that.
So, she's...
Sashalia, it's fine. Sashalia.
Sashalia. She's one of Tyranno's people. It was through observing her that I devised my first experiments with essence.
That's not possible, though. She looks... How long ago was this? It must have been...
Hundreds of years.
It's been hundreds of years since... She just kind of... She looks towards Amboise, like expecting him to give her some sort of more obvious answer.
Her, and now that I'm putting it together, him, and he kind of cat motions to Andreas. They were both of Tyranno's people, and they drank his essence from the day they were born.
She cuts him off. You mean my mother drank the essence of a dragon?
Your mother?
How? Why? Amboise, are you absolutely sure that's her name?
I can remember everything clearly now.
I guess I knew this might have been an answer, but not just in this way.
I'm sorry, it's not more helpful.
No, it's... I just need a moment. I'm sorry. I know that you didn't intend this to be the result of showing us this image, but... Please, I'll be outside. Just give me a moment. If nobody stops her, she'll just head out the door. Not like angry or anything, but this has been her usual MO as of late, but she's clearly upset.
Malkesh kind of looks over to Lissy and goes, I don't recognize any of these people.
No, I know.
Well, you've met Zexel. You would recognize him.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Well-
recognize that guy.
He looks a bit different now.
She's the ranger Ariana. One of the greatest demon hunters of the elven people. Incredible magical mind as well. She helped with some of, well, what would become the Imperial Library. Would help devise the ritual we believed could bring about the end of the demonic influence in this world. But when Arthur was gone, we argued so much about what should be done and how we would do it. She left and said she would leave the continent to its own devices. She'd find her own way. And at this point, she was already a hero amongst her people. I never saw her again after the day she left. I don't know what happened to her. Strange. That would mean she would have to have free access to come and go between your people and the outside. As far as you've told me, you don't let people in or out. She was the one who found Arthur. She had a rare gift where she could identify those incorruptible, even if she was corruptible herself. No, that being died. And I do know who killed that being. See, look, no, before you go. Look at this painting. And you see another one of Ilya and another woman you've never seen before. She has gray hair, looks middle-aged. If it was Earth, she would look as if she was of Chinese descent. But she looks shrewd and capable. And then you also see Ariana again. No, these were the people I came up with. At least hoped that we could come up with the idea of the family with. Ariana, I would hope, would take care of Elven lands. And Ilya was ingratiated with the Empire already. The woman in the middle is the Grey Worm, Dragon Mistress, who deferred her position to the Blue Dragon Saphir, believing she'd be too close to the political process to be of use. So really, since I lost track of Ariana but still received distant reports, Ilya and Saphir would become the mothers of the organization. And then Saphir died. Nobody knows why or how. And Ilya started to change after that. And she lured me to a place, and she was one of my most trusted friends. I thought after Guildhome, I thought it was Florentine. Seemed like that way. But we had an argument, her and I. And she had left long ago. Struck out on her own. Said she'd save the world, whether it was my methods, no matter the cost. I have to tell you how dangerous this means. All the people in these paintings are obviously long-lived, be they through magical or natural means. But Ilya is one of the people descended directly from the first generation of people touched by the demons on the surface. She has all the capabilities of your people. They may manifest differently, but or combine the shards the way Ferris could. I do have one question that I don't have the answer to, though. And he points to one more painting, and you see a glorious platinum dragon against the just highlighted against the sun. Razarus forced my hand. He started this plan to take Arthur's memories and to utilize it without first letting me know. It was a breach of trust that led me to betray him. To side with the Dragon Mistress. To help her and Zexel capture him. He is an ageless, powerful being. And I don't know what became of him. The last thing I did was divide methods to strip him of some of his power by effectively butchering him and giving it to others. I have done more terrible things than I can recall. Tell me when you're going to destroy this place. I'd like to spend a few more moments here.
Should be able to. Stuff can be unpredictable, but we should give you some time.
I'll have a look at it.
Is there anything you want saved from here? I don't see the harm in any of these paintings.
There's a lot of them.
Well, you may have to choose some specific ones. And also, you may have to ask someone with a larger backpack than me to carry them. But
I'm gonna say that it like right around this time, Goodhill's actually gonna come back into the room.
Okay.
Just kind of during the discussion about the paintings. I'm sorry for leaving earlier. I just needed a moment, you know.
It's a lot
Spent a lot
to
of
take
time
in.
looking. It is, and you spent a long time looking for someone, thinking they might be dead, only to find out that they can probably never die. At the very least, thank you for showing me this. I'm sure there's much more to discuss, but we obviously, as you were all saying, we don't want to arouse suspicion, and we need to make sure nobody else can use this place. But maybe there's something that can be recovered that's not quite as harmful.
Perhaps we can take the group picture. If I'm going to remember us, I'd like to remember us as we were before things went so wrong.
I agree. I would like the picture as well. Just to remember.
how big are these pictures, just as a question?
They're all like large canvas oil paintings. There's a couple that are smaller, just kind of like shoulder up headshots, but most of them are fairly elaborate large canvas paintings.
And the platinum dragon one?
It's about...
Which I'm assuming is a self-portrait. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
It's larger
No,
or
no.
smaller than a Fudgy the Whale?
That is actually one interesting thing you see. Amboise has never painted himself in a human or dragon form.
Okay, that was a misunderstanding. Sorry.
No, but it is of a reasonable size.
Bigger than Malkesh.
Maybe about the size of Malkesh.
That's hard to transport. Yeah, okay. Well, then I guess Malkesh is going to head back so that he can actually get things rigged, burn and blow up, so that he doesn't have, everyone suspicious about what they're doing.
We'll just take the canvas off of the frame and roll it up and take it with us.
Just shout when you need me.
As an out of character aside, this is time for me to go. So,
Yeah.
Malkesh will probably be doing that, and when you need it, do you want me to do a background check or?
We'll do the explosion stuff next week.
Alright. It's fun, guys. Sorry I gotta leave so quick. Bye.
See you later, Jay.
All right, the three of you are alone now outside the cabin. You can see a couple maybe in the sky nearby. There's always a few kind of stray islands floating through the sky you've seen. Somebody keeps opening a channel and I don't hear anything.
Sorry, that might be me. I'm trying to keep the noise level down. I think it's the air conditioner. I was like eating something, so. I'm trying to keep the mic muted, but I think it slips through.
Yeah, no, that's a thing you could do. You feel like there's enough that you could, in fact, in theory, the tree you brought down, you could cast a spell on it that would allow it to spread out and revitalize this area.
Ganila's gonna see if she can talk to Ambois briefly.
Sure.
Ambois, before we go,
If anybody deserves some of my time, it's you.
I suppose that is the case. I suppose I should clarify it's still something that I'd have a hard time processing, when you live your whole life with certain expectations and understandings, but When I said mother earlier, I meant. Well, I don't think it was. Despite what I was told as a child, I highly doubt that she was biologically my mother. Of course, now that I've seen this, and well, I've heard plenty over the last however long we've been traveling. Florentine talked about. I suppose I wanted to hear this from her, but I might have to hear it from you instead. Florentine talked about orphans. I don't remember all the specifics, but how grafting parts and they adapt and change, and they become the size of the person they're attached to. And why am I? Do you know? She kind of pauses and takes a walk around the room. Do you know if I was one of those children? Do I have some sort of marking, some sort of identification? Just, can you tell me anything about this process? Like, I just need to know. I want to move on, but I need to know the truth.
How old are you, Gunhild?
Since we started traveling, I'd be about 28. Give or take. At least that's what I've been told, based on the years that I grew up.
I know that you want to hear it from me, but what I devised had a very singular focus. And if you're that old, I would have been dead when you were born.
I don't know if I understand.
I died very, not much longer than 28 years, maybe 29, 30 years ago.
You mean when you were still, well,
A dragon.
yes.
I don't... If somebody's run these calculations, it's Florentine.
I was somehow worried you might say that, and I don't know if she's the person to talk to for the truth. But she may be my only lead.
It's possible. It's possible that
I don't...
she has already looked through all this.
Do you think she might be similar to me in that respect?
Looking at you and how you are, I think it is. One of the prime bits of defense to get in here was the dispersion field that you all came through. Fortunately, the dispersion field this only works on people who have never been to a place before and thus can't concretely remember the path. Neither you nor Florentine were affected by that field.
In other words, I've been here before, even if I don't remember it.
As I said, it's possible.
Just one more question. You, for now, I suppose. But you mentioned that maybe it's not. I mean, so about the essence.
Yes.
So when people, I suppose any race, when they drink it, you said that they. What does it do to them exactly?
It's... Well, in the case of Tyranno's people, I mean, you can see them. Andreas and Sashalia are normal, but granted them strength and aptitude, determination beyond human form, but it didn't physically change them. The experiment I ran at Created Florentine utilized a very specific type of latent shape-changing ability. And rather than nurture that into a shapeshifter, it, well, allowed more draconic characteristics to form through powerful essence.
Did it involve attaching parts?
No,
This way of grafting, or did it simply come to be from the essence?
simply came to be. Grafting... You're right to be critical of it. It's has this even more troubling history than you can imagine. I parted ways with the Dragon Mistress because she wanted it to be used more aggressively, to punish those who went against her and reward those that were loyal. And then later, Florentine's left my side because she believed that process had no place in her grand vision.
I think
That
it's
a
a process
constant...
this world could do without.
It can concentrate a dangerous amount of power into one being. One that doesn't have the hundreds of years a dragon would to become accustomed to it, but now that I can fully reflect on my life, I'm not sure 100 years was enough for me to comprehend what I was doing.
It's not good to... And while it's not good to reflect upon the past and think only negative of it, I think if you can accept the things that you've done, if you can learn how to fix those things and move on, I think that may be the best course of action for everybody. I don't blame you for doing what you thought was right at the time, but if you're willing to do what's right now, what's right for this world, what's right for all of us, maybe we can still fix this. Maybe we can find out the truth of what's causing this, what's causing people to turn to this. Maybe we can eliminate it once and for all.
Yes. I don't have much physical evidence beyond my assumptions, but you sound like him.
Him?
An old friend. An old friend I let something terrible happen to.
Gunil just kind of smiles sadly. I think I understand. A life full of regret is not a life worth living.
Please. I'd like just a few moments here alone.
Of course. She turns to start to leave, and she turns back and adds, and boy, I don't blame you for who you are or what I am. I just ask that you try to set things right. And just leaves.
Right. Gunhild,
Yes.
do you try to find Florentine?
Yeah, I think she's gonna track down Florentine.
You return to a less hidden cabin back around, and you see Florentine setting up, or at least she is just finishing setting up some of the explosive runes. I suppose you have questions.
Yes, I do. I think I'll start with this, Florentine. Just what do you think I am?
She looks and she takes out the book she was looking through earlier and then just hands it to you. You can have the wizard check it. I'm not tracking this one.
I'm not concerned about you tracking us anymore, at least not anymore. I know our goals are aligned, or I feel like our goals are in alignment. I suppose maybe asking honesty of people sometimes is too much. I don't want us to be enemies, but
There's a record of another experiment with the machine in there. When it happened, Saphir was dead, so there was no way to recover any of her essence other than what was remained from the first experiment. There's still plenty of Tyranno's essence. If this experiment was to run, A would have less implanting of Stillnox's personality due to the imperfect nature of his memory preservation, but would also focus more on Tyranno's characteristics, constitution, strength, and anything from the tiny aspect of Saphir would be incidental, almost vestigial characteristics of a blue dragon.
I suppose you can't answer my questions. You'll just simply have me do it for myself. That does seem to be your methods.
I have a hypothesis. I'm not telling you it for certain. This is a difficult thing to come to terms with. That everything that you are is a drive from some experiment. But if I'm right, then you are made with the same purpose that I was made for, and given the same drive. And that's to save this world. And at the very least, that's a noble cause. She steps forward and then opens the door. Come in here for a second.
She kind of looks down at the book and looks up to Florentine. Just tucks the book under her arm and follows her in.
You go in, and this room is half of it looks what used to be kind of prison bars, and on the other side you see what looks like a child's playroom. And you see that the bars and the gate have been completely destroyed. This room just absolutely wrecked. If my hypothesis is correct, and you are the second experiment with that machine, and there's no way you would have gotten out of here on your own, someone would have to take you. If you've noticed about this place, it would have to be somebody who was here already.
Gunhild just kind of takes a look around the room. My earliest memories are of home. I wish something about this looked familiar, if a face or specific item. I mean, it would have been nearly 30 years ago, I would think, if what you're telling me is true.
Well, they didn't seem the need to fix up this room. Let's take a look more around this house.
Let's.
She goes in and you see another room that's somebody's sleeping quarters and a kitchen. And then at last you go into a room that's a fully set up and stocked forge. Well, there's layers and layers of dust on this all, so apparently they didn't need to make any primitive weaponry.
They certainly didn't seem the type that needed weapons. Strange that they would have used the rest of this and kept it so clean, but just left this to rot.
We've looked around. There's both Ferris and I noticed that they pretty much have just restored what's necessary to make this a production facility. Anything that was homey or more towards the ends of, well, a place somebody could stay or live has been neglected.
Suppose they simply wanted to run their own experiments, and you may find, I find it strange, but it's strangely comforting that if they tried these experiments on anyone, it was those who potentially knew better than those who had no choice in the matter to begin with, or who even knew what was going on. The rooms for the children were empty. They didn't even bother to check those or even consider what that meant, did they?
Florentine looks a little kind of sad and distant. at the kind of talk of being given no choice. No. This is industrial. This is almost military. She picks up something out of a armor rack and walks over and hands it to you, and it's essentially a helmet very similar to your own.
Just kind of turns it over a little bit, takes a look at it.
It's clearly made by hand and made by somebody practicing tirelessly on it.
Just continues to use to turn it over and kind of takes a glance at Florentine to see how Florentine is reacting to it.
She looks as sour as usual, but there's definitely a little bit of held back upset there.
You know what I find funny, Florentine?
What?
The stories I was told when I was young about how Dragonic people were created for war, for battle, for combat, for some ridiculous purpose to fight others on this continent. Now here we are. Perhaps something entirely different, created against our own will. For combat. And against what?
You should take this as an opportunity. If you don't want this anymore, slip away. Find a quiet life.
Just kind of takes a moment and just says, "What kind of fool do you take me for? Why would I... My role is not to slip away. My role is not to disappear. I know we may not always see eye to eye, ever. I know it's strange of me to say this after all my talk, but if you stop fighting now, are you going to go out there? Are you going to put a stop to this by yourself? Are you going to let these things continue to destroy each other? Allow the demons to run rampant? To allow people to graft demon parts onto
She
other
looks
people?
and just immediately snaps. Of course not! What type of fool do you think I am?
That's what I'm telling you. Why would you think that I would run away from this? I know you won't.
There's a chance, as this progresses, that you'll disagree again. But I've made my decision I've dedicated my life to how I'm going to save this world. And it's the time I now know who's been working against it. And for now, I'm glad we're aligned, but I will fight with everything I have if you try to oppose it.
Gunhild just looks at the helmet in her hands and looks back and just nods. As will I. If nothing else, we seem to be people who stick to our morals.
Tell your elf friend I'll help him find that ritual.
His name's Hunhao. You might want to remember the name. Thank you for showing this to me, Florentine. I'll take a look at this book.
And she just doesn't respond. And with that, I think we'll hang it up for tonight.
Sounds good.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you for watching. I should make something to eat.